I think today's session is one of the most important sessions of the Bhagavad Gita. Today, what we'll explore, some of the verses that we will explore and the ideas from those verses have influenced global spirituality for eons. So for thousands of years, this has been influencing many of the teachings that we'll get even from modern spiritual teachers, some of the ideas that we'll find. This is the source material that you'll find, some of these ideas. And I'll start by reading something by the poet Browning, uh, who's mentioned in the Yoga of the Bhagavad Gita by Sri Krishna Prem, which I often have referenced. But I saw this beautiful little poem that Krishna Prem references him. He was um, an early 1800s, a poet here in England. And he writes, "Truth lies within ourselves. It takes no rise from outer things. Whatever you may believe, there is an inmost center in us all, where truth abides in fullness. And to know, rather, consists in opening out a way, whence the imprisoned splendor may escape, then in effecting entry for a light, supposed to be without." So I thought that was really beautiful about the truth lying within ourselves. It takes no rise from outer things. And as the title of this sessions are called Journey Within, we're always looking to reference within us. So we'll be exploring that. So what is the content of these next area of teachings that we're going to explore in the Bhagavad Gita? And for those of you who have your Gitas or who are exploring it in the Gita, we are at chapter 2, verse 53. There we go. I'd love to see some Gitas actually. If you have a Gita on your copy, I'd love to see which one you've got and what you're referencing. That's nice. Oh, I can see Eknath Ishwaran and quite a few Ishwarans going on. Okay, he's popular. And the ISKCON, Srila Prabhupada's there as well. So wonderful. Okay. The verse that I'll start from is I'll go a couple of verses back. When your intelligence has crossed beyond the tangle of delusion, you will become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. When your intelligence stands firm, opposed to that which has been heard, you will attain the discipline of yoga. Okay, so this is where we were up to in the last session, and Krishna is really describing a state where you achieve a state of yoga. Now, I believe, and I'm taking a guess here, it's not something I've researched in detail, but next we'll go to Arjuna's question, which is a beautiful question for this session and an exploration. What does one look like who's achieved it? How does one act? What are they like? What is that spiritual being like? How should we be in our life? Like if we knew what true spirituality is or how we should live in the world, what is that state like? How should we be? How should we live? How should we treat others? So this is what we're going to explore today. Stitha Prajna. And I believe that here in verse 54 is the first time we come across that term. Stitha Prajna. Arjuna uvacha stita pragyasya ka bhasa samadhistasya keshava stitadi kim prabhaseta kim asita vrajate kim. So stitya pragya. And because I'm born in England and many of us are sitting in the West where we are here, 6 p.m. in London time, I always try to relate the Sanskrit words to English words where I can, or I try to find the root words. Where are these words related to Sanskrit words and English words? So stitha, it's the same root as the word situated. Stitha, situated. And pragya is the same as our English word pregnant. So you're pregnant within that. You're situated within the womb of the self. living with from the self. Stitha Prajna. It's a beautiful term that the Bhagavad Gita introduces, that for one who is situated within the self. So yesterday I was giving a talk at UCL College, in UCL University in London, and I asked the question. So when somebody introduced themselves, I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "I study computer science." So immediately I assigned a role to that person. You know, as I mentioned in previous sessions, Ramdas would say, "I'm not interested in your role. I'm interested in your soul. I'm interested in your heart. Who are you?" Like that. And so, in that way, I think the Stitha Prajna is the one who's situated in the soul, one who is situated in the self, one who is self-existing, not requiring to define oneself by any position or status or community, one who is just one with God, universally living. So Stitha Prajna is that. Okay. Okay, Shiva. What are the characteristics of one whose understanding is mature, who is fixed in concentration, whose thoughts are focused? What does that person speak? How does that person sit and walk? Immediately, I kind of sat up a little bit. You may have noticed as soon as I asked the question, even to myself, how does that person speak? How does that person sit? How does that person walk? It goes to such detail. The questioning is that how, or describe that person to me. What is one like? Who's an enlightened being situated in the self? How should they carry themselves? But Krishna doesn't directly answer the question in 55 in exactly the same way, but it talks about the characteristics of the values or the virtues of such a person. For one who has given up all desires that originate within the mind and has found contentment within, one is said to be of mature understanding. One whose mind is free of anxiety during times of trouble and who is without the desire for happiness, whose passions, fears, and angers have left him, have departed, is said to be a sage of the steady mind. Bhaya Krodha. Bhaya Krodha, free of anger. Stittadir, situated in stillness. Munir Uchyate. Munir is like a muni. Uchyate, he is a steady mind. He has a stable mind. Excuse me. One of the things I love there is one whose mind is free of anxiety, not just usually during troubled times. Like, how can we uh, be stable? To be stable during times of peace. So when you're on holiday, sitting on the beach, that's the easy part. You know, when you're watching the ocean or sitting on the sand. How can we be stable during difficult times? How do we become situated in the self, spiritually strong? Fear and anger have departed. Again, we spoke about Krishna will talk about fear and anger quite often. One who is free of desire, whether good or evil, who neither rejoices nor hates, is a person of mature understanding. Okay, as a tortoise withdraws its limbs on all sides, so a person of mature understanding is able to withdraw the senses from the sense objects. Now, this is the first real visual that Krishna will give us. Imagine a tortoise, like we are like a tortoise, and the limbs are touching all of the sense gratification of the world. But really, we pull our limbs in and we stay situated in the self. So although you may be out there in the world doing everything, there's chaos. Like we talked about a title for a book earlier today, Finding Peace in Chaos. How can we find peace in chaos or difficulty or struggle? That's really the goal here, what we're trying to achieve. So, um, as a tortoise withdraws its limbs on all sides, a person of mature understanding is not affected by that. And listen to this very carefully here, because I think this is quite important and something I'd love to discuss with you all towards the end of the session when we have a little bit of discussion. Although the taste for enjoyment remains, the person ceases to engage. So we still have taste, right? Like our tongue, our senses, we enjoy that in the world. Like there is enjoyment that will come, but we are not attached to it. You know, we're offering it to God. So we're using everything that we're doing as an offering to do something greater or better for a higher cause, for a higher purpose. However, when one experiences the supreme, even taste for the sense enjoyment will vanish. You won't even feel like you're tasting that thing. Like if you remember earlier on in chapter 2, there was a verse where Krishna says, "What use are the Vedas or the sacred texts or spiritual texts, which are like small pools, when you have the ocean? Why do you need small bodies of water when you are the ocean? You are connected to it all. You are one with it. Then you don't require anything. You have it all. You're blissful." And Neem Karoli Baba, people who used to ask him, "Oh, Maharaji, would you like to come to America?" He would say, "I'm everywhere." He would say, "What about, money or something like that?" He would say, "All of the money in the world is mine. I was just completely one and existing together in that." And I feel like here Krishna is really telling us that when your true enjoyment is in the supreme, is in divinity, is in spirituality, you have that supreme enjoyment, bliss, then there's nothing else to enjoy. No sense of, first maybe we can start with coffee and then alcohol and then maybe something else, maybe a stronger alcohol, maybe drugs, maybe everything. Like how many sense enjoyments can one have in this worldly domain? But you go up and you go down, you go up and you go down, whereas this is something consistent, unending, blissful, and something that's hidden within us. So we seek for that thing in everything of the world. I feel like that. Like we always like, oh, what about this? Is fun. This is interesting. This is something else we could do. But really, the true bliss comes from within here when we're connected to God, when that love, loving. Um, Although the taste for enjoyment remains, the learned person ceases to engage. However, when the experience is the supreme, even the taste for the senses vanishes. O son of Kunti, churning senses forcibly carry away the mind of even a learned person who strives for yoga. The churning senses. So these senses, Krishna is saying, is our senses will pull us in every direction. Oh, this is interesting. Look at that food looks nice. This looks like a good place where we should visit. We should go out here. We should meet. And those senses, just like the example will come of the horse carried away in different directions. But he's really saying that the senses, when not in control, can lead us all over the place. So there is a practice here of ourselves just drawing within ourselves for a moment. Like I hope that this Bhagavad Gita exploration is something that we all together feel is a drawing in for a moment, just like as if we're practicing a meditation or chanting a mantra or serving people in need. The exploration of the Gita itself is a sadhana. It's a spiritual practice of going within. So Krishna is saying here that the senses will pull us out. Let us go in for a while. A disciplined person should remain intent on me while controlling the senses. The intelligence of one whose senses are under control stands firm. When contemplating the objects of the senses, attachment arises. From such attachment, desire develops. And from desire, a person experiences anger. This is really special. So first I'm thinking, um, I really want to have, I don't know what they're called, the Apple headphones, which are, without the wire. AirPods. So they cost like 20 times more than the one with the wire, which I could never understand because you get a free wire. and it's 20 times cheaper. But anyway, the the Apple Pods. Oh, I really want to have those. Everybody's wearing those things, and then the desire and the attachment to that arises. That now, oh my God, I've lost one AirPod. It's fallen on the tube. In the thing, what am I going to, that suffering will develop, the desire will increase, and now I get angry, because I've lost that AirPod and that cost me £200, which I could have refurbished an entire school in India for. But, this thing is causing anger, attachment, desire. And also, I'll talk about the idea of karma here, because in my view, and I believe that the view of the Shastras, the scriptures, and the sacred texts, karma is actually this, that, imagine I'm somebody has left their wallet on this table, and that wallet, I think, oh, there's money in that wallet. Maybe I should take it. Now, that thought process creates a sanskar, a scar, like literally the English word scar, on my subconscious mind, because I've thought about taking that wallet. And then the next time I think about that again, the next time I see an object of desire, maybe somebody's left a watch on a table, and I think about that, the scar gets ingrained again, even deeper. So now there's two scars of thinking about taking something that doesn't belong to me. And then three, and then four, and then by the fifth or sixth time, it's likely that I'm going to take the wallet, or I'm going to take the item, and I become a thief. And that becomes my pattern of behavior. So the idea of karma is literally this, that we scar our subconscious with a view or a thought that then becomes our nature. And so where Krishna is referring to here in verse 62, for me, is similar to the idea of karma, that we can see that we're choosing a path. So are we going to choose to be situated in our soul? Are we going to be love? Or are we going to chase after stuff with anger and desire, frustration? That's why often when somebody's telling me about something which they're going through, which is very difficult, or, yes, we should listen, but we should also encourage them not to become habitual in that pattern of consistently moaning about, or, going on about something that, they can actually either resolve or choose a different way, because that habit is actually going to make them go deeper down into that thing. So if they say, for example, if one is constantly negative, we all know people who will constantly have nothing positive to say. So, you ask them, how are you? And they will tell you something that was wrong with them immediately. So like, oh, this is really bad. And you can almost expect that I'm going to ask them, how are you? And they're going to give me something that's gone wrong with them. So then you just change the question, say something else. Don't ask, how are you? Just say, it's so great to see you, and start and just keep the positive in that way. So I feel like that karma of habituation and pattern is something that here Krishna is really talking about. Okay. While contemplating the objects of the senses, attachment to them arises. From the attachment, desire develop. And from desire, a person experiences anger. This is not religion or belief, or this is like psychology. This is mind. This is understanding ourself. Okay. From anger, delusion arises. And from delusion becomes bewilderment. So now we're angry because we've lost something. Now we're delusional. We're not thinking straight. We might try and put our hand down the tube station to try and grab that earpod, risking getting our arm chopped off from the upcoming tube train. Whatever it is, delusional. I'm not thinking straight. I'm angry now, so I'm not going to make good decisions. I'm upset with somebody or something, and I'm not making good decisions. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, one is destroyed. But when passion and hatred are eliminated, the disciplined soul attains serenity through self-control. Even the senses remain engaged with their sense objects. Krishna's really coming back to something here. When passion and hatred are eliminated, the disciplined soul attains serenity through self-control, even though senses remain engaged with their sense objects. So although we're engaging in the world, the limbs of the tortoise are out. We have the spiritual limbs which are coming in, and we are situated in the self, unaffected. I mean, yesterday I was speaking to some students, and somebody actually mentioned to me, one of the just really wonderful students engaging in this content and understanding something about the Gita. They said, we have a friend who's constantly telling us about their trauma or their difficult time, or like how they're going through a really difficult patch, and it's consuming a huge amount of our time. But we as students have to focus on our studies, and we need to do this activity. And I was like, wow, look, the students are doing great things in the world. They're either helping people or they're focusing on their studies, which they can't be doing too bad in life. That's pretty good direction. But they said that, that was affecting them mentally from listening to that. And here Krishna's advice would be to listen or to help or to do your duty, do your work, but remain situated in self. So to remain from that place. And I just want to pause for a moment because we've covered quite a few verses there. All suffering ceases. Okay, I'll just finish this. Yeah. We'll pause at that moment, and I want to read a few quotes. I'd like to read a few quotes from Vinoba Bhave, who I reference quite often. And he also wrote a beautiful Bhagavad Gita called Talks on the Gita. It was originally spoken in prison. When he was in prison from the British, he was Gandhi's first great follower. He was his first satyagrahi. Gandhi said he was nothing compared to Vinoba. So here are some of the quotes. The mind that neither rejoices nor grieves, that remains unmoved in the face of pleasure or pain, is the mind of true wisdom. The true sannyasi is not one who renounces the world, but one who renounces attachments. He who is unshaken by either praise or blame, who sees a friend and a foe with equal vision, such a person has reached true wisdom. The wise do not lose themselves in the past, or are they anxious about the future. They simply do what is right in the present moment. I love that. To remain untroubled in all situations, to move through life like a river flowing steadily to the ocean. This is the mark of a Stitha Prajna. The one who has conquered his senses, who remains content with oneself, who neither clings to life or resists life, such a person is truly free. So these are some of the descriptions that Vinoba took of what a Stitha Prajna is like. And I hope that these verses and these ideas of the Gita here will give you some pullback to stability, to spiritual strength, to that place within yourself where we can be truly the divine. Now, coming back to the Gita, all suffering ceases for one who has attained serenity. Once the mind is tranquil, intelligence quickly becomes steady. So if we can make our mind stable through what we are touching through the senses and through the world engagement, then we can have an intelligent mind. But if you see, it's like, anybody who's a fan of popular politics these days can see that very much unstable minds, rushing here, getting angry easily, not stable, unstable, wanting to cause violence, getting upset and angry with people easily, being negative or being, overly frustrated easily, expressing, discontent easily with people, and, there can be no understanding for one who is without discipline, nor can there be any development of mind. The word bhavana the Krishna uses the word here, bhavana. Yeah, bhavana. That means development of mind or meditation or practice. So there can be no understanding for one who is without discipline. Neither can there be any development of mind. We must have discipline and we must have bhavana. We must practice this now, like, through meditation or through morning puja, practice, doing service, practicing the things that can make us stable in mind. And therefore we can take it into the world. So spiritual practice. This is very beautiful. One who has failed to develop the mind can find no peace. And how can there ever be happiness without peace? There's so many billionaires, so many successful people, so many celebrities, so many people who have seemingly achieved such states of worldly achievement, but they don't have happiness because they don't have peace. So better we try to cultivate peace first and give that to our loved ones and our friends. The greatest gift we can give, isn't it, to our friends and the people we love and those around us? Peace of mind, ease of heart. Krishna Das would always use this term, ease of heart. How can we? Krishna's talking about ease of heart here. As the wind carries away a boat on water, so the mind that focuses on the wandering senses of the world carries away a person's discrimination. O Arjuna, one whose senses are withdrawn from the objects of the senses is a person of steady intelligence. Now, for me, this is how we don't burn out. We are situated in the self. Whether we get sick, I've had what I think is like a chest infection for quite some time. Yes, I have to see a doctor, I have to take medication, I have something, but why? That shouldn't affect my soul. That shouldn't affect my well-being, inner well-being. It's okay. Things are going to go well, things are going to go wrong. We have to face those difficulties. We have to face those struggles with the smile of Krishna and face the world with loving devotion and take on those things. As the wind carries away a boat on water, so the mind that focuses on the wandering senses of the world carries away a person's discrimination. One whose senses are withdrawn from the objects of the senses is a person of steady intelligence. We are going to complete chapter 2 today of the Gita. So we only 4 verses. So please bear with me, and then we can celebrate that we have achieved the completion of 2 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita today. But bear with me as I meander away for a little bit. There is a plan to my madness. So please bear with me. Okay, so this week there is a beautiful Hindu festival called Holi. Does anybody know what Holi is? Could you wave if you know, if you're familiar with Holi? If some of you, okay, wonderful. Yeah, a few people know Holi. Mostly people will know from uh, the the colors that people will get together and throw colors at each other, and it's really beautiful, right? Like it takes away the colors of our whole life, like who we are, what is our background. Everybody's covered in multiple colors, so we all become one. So it's a really beautiful festival. I'll also share that there is this holy booklet which I produced. Um, and you can get it from the team somewhere. I don't know. You'll have to find out. We did email it to everybody. So if you're on the email list, you should have received this digital. We are printing these holy booklets, and they'll be distributed at holy festivals that we're a part of. So we're a part of a few holy festivals in London and Luton, close by to where our offices are. So we'll be distributing these for free to people, and it explains the essence of holy. And so I just want to go to holy a little bit because there is this image which I'll share on the screen. This is Prahlad, a young boy, Prahlad. And Prahlad, for me, is a beautiful. Oh, there we go. Kelly shared the link, hopefully in the thing for the booklet. Prahlad is a devotee of the Lord. He's a devotee of Krishna, of Vishnu. And he is, this story of Holi is mentioned in this book, the Srimad Bhagavat Purana. or Srimad Bhagavatam, which is often called. So this is a Purana relating to the life of Krishna. And there are, I mean, it's a huge text. I'm not sure exactly how many paravas, but this copy is a shorter version. There are two copies to this one. So the story of Prahlad and Holi and all of this nice things are mentioned in the Bhagavad Purana. And I'll just give you a quick breakdown of what is happening in that. So you have Prahlad, who's a young boy. He's less than 10 years old, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And he is really devoted. He's spiritual. He's in love with God. He's like, just totally immersed in spiritual practice. And his dad is a demon king who is like ruler of the world. He is the modern day US president who wants to rule everything and take over the world and kind of all of this stuff. But his son is just totally immersed in God. And so his father cannot understand what this fool is doing. He just cannot get it. He's like, what are you doing? We've got everything here, every pleasure, and you're just meditating and chanting mantra and, doing all this stuff. Like, what are you doing? So I'll read something from the Bhagavad Purana. I've just kept the page there, just to give you a sample of what it's like. Okay, hopefully I can find my cards. Okay. All right. Okay, here it is. Hiranyakashipu. This is the father, the demon king who's speaking to Prahlad. Evidently, you are keen to die. Son, like he's telling his son, you're keen to die. You are bragging too much. Your your words are of those who are anxious to die. You are slow-witted. You are sure to be incoherent. Where is your Lord of the universe? Where is the Lord of the universe that's other than me? That you mention, you wretched fool. Even if it is urged that he's present everywhere, like you say, God is present everywhere, like you say, is he in this pillar? Like right now, so he points to a pillar. And then Hiranyakashipu smashes the pillar. And then from that pillar, Vishnu emerges as a lion avatar called Narasingha Deva. So Narasingha is a lion avatar of Vishnu that comes forth and then devours Hiranyakashipu in that moment. And it's a very profound, and Prahlad is standing in prayer the whole time while this is taking place. So it's an extraordinary scene in the Bhagavad Purana of Vishnu emerging to say that God is present everywhere. That's the message there, and that the devotee is always protected. So Prahlad talks about the nature of practice. Actually, I penciled that as well. And this is what Prahlad says is the ways that we can achieve Stitha Prajna, or that state of, kind of being there, to hear the names. Ram, 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 Ram. We're hearing the names. We're practicing Hare Krishna or Om Namah Shivaya or whatever mantra you're practicing, to hear names, to praise the stories, to praise and to listen to the stories, or these ancient stories that have such deep spiritual significance in them and that help us become situated in the self, to become devoted, to increase love in our hearts, to chant, to remember God, to serve God through all our acts and everything that we do in the world, to offer worship, to salute, to give salutations to God, to dedicate one's actions to God. Every act is an offering to God. To cultivate friendship with God, to offer one's body, as well as one's dependence, as well as one's belongings, as well as everything you own to God. If devotion is marked by these 9 features, is practiced offering to Lord Vishnu, then this is the highest form of learning. This is the highest form of evolution, where we can be within that state. So that's something about Holi, where we remember Prahlad's devotion, Prahlad's love. And so also during Holi, people will light a fire. If you visit India or you visit any temples, there'll be a holy fire. There's an image that we have in the booklet of the holy fire, um, and and that's really the image of holy, um, where Prahlad is in fire. He's placed in fire, but he's not affected by the fire. And showing that Prahlad, as I understand it, is the soul. Prahlad is the soul. He is the Atman. Okay. What is night for all beings is a time of awakening for one who is self-controlled. What is the time of awakening for all beings is the night for one of vision. I often speak to people on a spiritual journey, and they would tell me, I'm on this journey. Uh, I'm I'm practicing spiritual practice or yoga, or I've taken up this new journey of meditation, or I'm on this a path of trying to live healthier. I've become vegetarian. I've given up drinking alcohol, but all of my friends, they want to go clubbing tonight. They want to do this. They're interested in different activities, but I'm leaning more towards this spiritual path now. What is it? How do I feel that separation? And I think this verse is really interesting here. For what is night for all beings is a time of awakening for one who is self-controlled. And although, people around us that we've uh, grown up with, that we love, our family members, our friends, they might, not really connect with with our journey, with our spiritual journey inward. They're just seeing the world differently, and it can be like day and night, that we're seeing the world differently. Because if you're seeing the world from the heart, it's going to look very different to one who's seeing the world just from the senses or the mind. We previously saw it from the senses of the mind, or, or the desire, or anger, or from those places. But to see the world from the heart, it looks different. And so Krishna is saying here, it will be like night and day. And that's okay. You can accept that there will be a different way of looking at the world that we have to accept. And there can be, when we drop back into the mind, a sense of loneliness from that. There can be a sense of, that my friends are doing something completely different and I'm not engaging in that practice now. But Krishna is saying to come back into the heart, and for one who is feeling that sense of awakened vision, they will see it all. As the ocean remains ever still, even though water is constantly flowing into it, so one of intelligence, one of steady intelligence, remains at peace in spite of the constant flow of desire. This is not the case for one who seeks to satisfy the senses alone. So, be like the ocean. Be like the ocean with all of these things flowing into it and all of those things flowing out of it, but still remaining still. Not like the waves. Often we associate ourselves with waves, behaviors, things that are going really well at the moment, things that are going really badly at the moment. We associate with that like waves. So we got a really difficult, oh my God, I got 2 parking tickets today for parking in the wrong place by accident. Oh, I got this challenge thing. And then we associate our whole self with that, and our emotion and our heart and our feeling gets drawn into that. But actually, what Krishna is saying is to be situated in the self like a Stitha Prajna, pregnant within oneself, living within the womb of one's heart, and being within that, like the ocean. remains at peace in spite of the constant flow of the desires. This is not the case for one who seeks to satisfy desires. A person who lives without longing, letting go of all desires, who is free from worldly ties and egotism, attains peace. So, live without deep desire. Let go of desire. Be free of the ties of the world. Obviously, you have work to do. We have work, and Krishna will go to great detail later as we go on in explaining how to approach that work. Be free of worldly ties that hold us down. Be free of egotism. Don't be egotistical. Then you can attain peace. O Partha, O Arjuna, this is the divine life. I love those words. Divine. Let me just see what the Sanskrit is. Divine life. Esha Brahmastiti. Esha Brahmastiti. Now you are situated in Brahman. Now this is the divine life. One who achieves this state is no longer deluded and attains union with Brahman. Brahma Nirvana is the term that's used, which means blown out or extinguished. And so it refers to extinguishing all attachments and living within the spiritual state of divine, living with the Supreme. It's very powerful. And Krishna actually uses a term that's most commonly associated with Buddhism, nirvana. This is the state of nirvana that we have. Krishna is talking about. One who is achieving this state is no longer deluded by the changing senses. So, Esha Brahmistiti Partha Nenam Prapya Vimuhyati Stitavasyam Antakalahapi Brahma Nirvanam Rachati. This is the last verses of the second chapter. Once you've achieved these things of thinking, like not attached to the senses, not attached to the world, you're peaceful, you're not egotistical, you're living from a place of peace, you are the ocean, then you are one with Brahman. You're one with God. God is the ocean. There is an ocean, a vast ocean out there. This entire cosmos is divine. And when we are one with that, we attain peace, we attain nirvana. So, firstly, before we have a little bit of discussion for some time, congratulations. We have completed chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita.